No, it's happening. So, are you listening to me?
Yeah, everything is fine.
Yeah. So, when we talk of the three modes of the pleasure, we are talking of pleasure. So, when we are talking of pleasure, now from the Eastern wisdom, we are clear that we are talking of pleasure with reference to the object outside. So that is very clear to us. That is very clear to us. That is the first thing we should understand. Now there's three modes of the pleasure. Now we understand what is this. So that the ignorance in the mind is removed. So when we start understanding the yes, now we have. So now first step is mind is totally obsessed with the objects. That is, and why that obsession is there? That obsession is there because mind has already projected happiness. It has already passed the information to the intellect. Don't worry. Pleasure is in pasta, pleasure is in sex, pleasure is in clothes, pleasure is in buying. It's already there. So now see the process that is happening inside of which we are not aware. Not at all aware. Now a teacher comes and says pleasure is not there. Come on, happiness is not there. So your mind and intellect rejects that thought, that knowledge, and it says he doesn't know. Who can live with money? Who can live without money? Who can live without sex? That happened to you also. You see that? Who can live without? No, money is. So even the intellect says money is not everything, but the intellect is impure. And the mind is obsessed. So the intellect and the mind raises the bar of ego, and that ego creates the false nature. So it doesn't want to listen to the teacher. It doesn't want to. Who does meditation? You are wasting your time sitting, just sitting, eyes are closed. Better to do something. So what to do something? To act. What to act? To act on the object. So to act on the object, and to why? Why to act in the object? To seek the pleasure. To seek the pleasure. You see that? Oh, that gives me an enjoyment. You see, you are simply sitting in meditation and I am enjoying. Look at it. This is the first stage of pleasure. First stage of pleasure. Where what happens? What I said, pleasure, happiness. So when I say pleasure, happiness, the obsession of mind is there. Obsession of mind. Second, that obsession of mind dictates the intellect. We are not aware at all. Oh, come on, let's enjoy that. So what I sometimes observe here also in a party, oh, you are a man of wisdom. What I have to do? Even if you appreciate me that I am a man of wisdom, you become a man of wisdom. And once the talk is done, everyone starts, their manner, their attitude, their behavior, falls on the dining table, picking up the food and change the topic. I know, where are you? You may appreciate me, that does not mean anything to you. No, I'm not affected by it. So this obsession of the mind dictates the intellect, seeking pleasure outside, seeking pleasure outside. Mind remains outside. Mind remains outside. Its seeking and searching remains outside. For what? For me and mine only. So that is purely a selfish nature. Why selfish nature is there? That selfish nature is there because I am a seeker of happiness in ignorance. Seeker of happiness in ignorance. I have seen a lot of people who are extremely rich. Come on, why don't you eat this? We have cooked for you. I go to different people. But when it comes to their employees or a servant, they are very strict. See, look at this. You cannot do even the small thing correctly. That is why I'm not paying you. I will deduct money from your salary. Come on. Come on, what kind of a person you are? Are you showing your false self to me? Yes. So that also, a lot of things happens in the first stage of the pleasure. And it is the first stage of the pleasure that also leads to violence, jealousy, hatred. I'm going to basically, we'll talk about this. I'm going slowly to the second stage of our journey. Now look at the second stage of pleasure. Second stage of pleasure. Maybe due to your past karma. Maybe due to your past karma. Or listening to the teacher. Both together, listening to the teacher, or frustration and failures in the journey of life, to seek happiness from others. Many reasons. We live in that field of ignorance. But what happened, we witness absorbed in the work, gives me happiness. Where the mind is not wandering. So I find happiness in activity, focused, dedication, a lot of other stuff. So that for focus and dedication in your job, in your profession, a lot of things. That gives you a satisfaction, happiness. You are not tired, not doubtful, as long as work is being done. It may be anything. You are a scientist, painter, sculptor, a successful employee. You are a lot of other things. Painter, writer, scientist, researcher. They devote their entire life so much focused and obsessed, possessed. They are possessed by work. So this gives you a satisfaction. So what happens in satisfaction? You go little far away from seeking an object. Seeking an object or a person. So you know that witness, that awareness brings the knowledge. And that knowledge, what happens? Knowledge takes your mind little far away from an object. And when it takes your mind little far away from an object, what happens? You see that, you have see that the object is not for happiness. It is work. It is work. So people become workaholic. When they become workaholic, then they say they are awfully busy. And again a negative direction starts. So satisfaction, happiness. Okay. I'm a painter and now I have nothing to paint. I'm frustrated. Again I go for painting. Again I'm happy. I go for singing and thousands people appreciate, I'm happy. And if it is not, then I said, okay, let us drink. Let us drink. So we fall back to the same stuff again. Look at it. Third stage of the happiness, what happens when you see that gap? So in that gap, you find, what do you find? There is a gap between object and pleasure. So who takes the karma takes over, but the knowledge dawns in you. Dawns in you, the selfish nature does not bring happiness. Oh, so that knowledge leads you to the third stage of happiness. Oh, let me spare. I have enough. I have enough. Let me spare. I have anything. What is I have knowledge, I have money, I have... let me spare something. So when you spare means what? Spare means what? When you give someone spare or give to someone, what happens to the mind? What happens to the mind? A freedom from objects and people. You feel the sense of that freedom. That freedom brings the joy. That freedom brings the value, happiness. It is not giving. It is not giving. There is a famous saying in Krishna, when Arjuna says how to practice, so he says how to practice charity. In Gita, Arjuna asks how to practice charity. So he says, practice charity? Are you crazy? You even give me a leaf. Out of that feeling, out of that awareness that this does not belong to you, will put you into the spiritual path. So the hypocrisy comes. Okay, I have to offer only leaf, but I am a rich. So one part of the mind is keeping the ignorance intact, and the intellect cleverly offers, oh, I'm offering you leaves, this is what the Krishna says. So there is a great, deeper problem. You have not become a seeker. See that you have not become a seeker. And we understand, because I have also gone through the same practices, same realization. You are aware of 5 Indian rupees. I did not have the money in 80s, so I used to bring 5 rupees out of that. Clarity of the feeling was there. Then I had lot of money. Then my intellect says, okay, part of the money should be given to my guru and the part of money should be kept for my pleasure. So when I gave the part of the money to my master said, "You are giving the money to me in installment. I will also give you peace in installment." And I realized, my goodness, I did the mistake. It does not mean that you don't keep the money for your maintenance. Example, you do it. But you have not contemplated and reflected how much spare wealth you have that you are giving to a person who is guiding you on this path. And then another change happened. I invited my master to my home. And I said, "Let me keep this money for 2 months of my maintenance and livelihood. The rest I brought it and I gave." So my master was laughing. "Yes, now you have changed." Another factor happened. I was in Himalayas for a week. I took leave from the office and I said, "I have come here for a week." So there was no talk of money. But that one day, he was lying down on the bed late in the evening in Gangotri in the Himalayas at the height of 12,000 feet. The entire family was there. So Master just spoke. "You see that we are at the bank of Ganges river. It is highly sacred. You are with your teacher, and your mind is thinking that you have come here only for a week. That is how my master, used to remove the ignorance, just by setting an example. And instantly I said, "Let me continue to stay as long as you wish me and you bless me to stay." And I stayed for 3 months, continuously. Then Master called me. "No, I heard that, you are not getting your pay check for 3 months without pay." I said, "No, it's a full of pay. I'll be able to manage myself. I have kept for 2 months and 3rd month I will see to it." And he laughed and he smiled. So it is not offering any object, but by offering an object or anything outside, it breaks the knot of ignorance, that your intellect and the mind is still in the same ignorance. So once you break that knot, means that you break the knot and you keep object very far from the mind and intellect. So there what happens? The mind says, "Okay, I am enjoying that state of the happiness by giving." So idea of giving and exchange comes. So now you are not giving for the sake of the teacher has said, but you have undergone a change inside. You are committed. I am giving for the sake of giving. So there comes the value happiness, whether it is a charity work, whether it is you are doing something for others. So in a society, people say, "Oh, look at the terrorist is doing a lot of things for others," but internally you feel as if you are doing it for yourself. You are doing it for yourself. So when you value happiness, means now you are doing it for the sake of evolution. So now what is happening in the society? In the society, someone knocks the door. we have come from Jesus society. Huh? It happens everywhere. So we are taking care of 100 kids. You can join us the prayer. We know you are Christian, hence you pay $1,000 to us. So I get moved by it. Oh, you are doing it for... I get moved. If I'm getting moved because of sympathy, I'm still in ignorance. It doesn't mean that I don't have love for people. I'm still moving. So that stage needs to be crossed. The mind and the intellect must be ready. It should not move by any positive or negative emotion. This mind is not influenced by anything happening outside. Yes, I'm concerned if one man kills others. But if the mind and the intellect is influenced by any event outside, whether it is a violence or whether it is service, selfless service, what we say selfless service, you are still living in ignorance. You are still living in ignorance. Even though you pay $50 million for a charity. Then what happens? It's a process of evolution through practices, through understanding the journey of Eastern wisdom, and gradually you realize happiness is not outside at all. Peace is not outside at all. There comes an understanding and also a recognition and a realization. There is a recognition in your mind, recognition and a realization in the mind that happiness is not outside. So, yet the path is unknown. Now see, yet the path is unknown. So there comes Eastern wisdom that shows the path and declares what it declares? That happiness is your essential nature. Happiness is your essential nature. But I don't feel it. I'm ready. If I'm ready, committed, I'm a seeker. If I'm not, I'm yet to become a seeker. How you get ready for a marriage that is scheduled after 2 weeks, every day, your mind 24 by 7, your mind is filled with that kind of a pleasure. See that for any event scheduled in future, what happens? The mind is engaged. Mind is engaged with that event 24 by 7. It says, okay, I will get this. Tomorrow I'm going to buy a car. Mind is engaged. Look at it. Not only the marriage. So that kind of a temperament where the seeker in you lives in personal, professional, social, and family lives. At every moment you sleep, you have that notion. Oh, that is what I have to get. So that is what the fourth stage of the happiness, where the conviction is there. That now I know that happiness is my essential nature, self is of the nature. You have a glimpse of it. No. Why you have a glimpse of it? Because the first 3 stages of the happiness, where the mind is facing outside. And here now it is, mind is facing inside. Even thinking of that my happiness is my essential nature, it inspires you, it motivates you. You don't forget it. That is known as the intense aspiration by a person who has become a seeker. In Tantra tradition, I think I covered that a little bit. I remember that. In Tantra tradition, we say there are 4 steps to the path. First is abhipsa. What is abhipsa? It is an intense aspiration, intense desire for the self, for seeking the freedom from the suffering, for awakening to the peace and happiness. Abhipsa. It is a wonderful principle. These 4 steps are a wonderful. First is the abhipsa. I will cover little bit, and then first is abhipsa. Second is the shastra. Shastra means knowledge of Eastern wisdom. Now my mind says what knowledge I should get and how should I practice. And the third is the teacher. The teacher has to be there. Who personalizes the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom, not only to keep that intense aspiration, but will also help to follow the path and prevent you from the fall to the ignorance again. And the 4th one is known as the time. 4th one is known as the time. Look at it closely. I wanted to give you something, but you opened the topic. This is really wonderful. So time. What it means by the time. What it means by the time. Today I contemplated and reflected on the principles, but the mind and the intellect is dictating me with the first 3 pleasures, and I feel a failure. There is a frustration. The Master says, "Do no worries. Today you fail. Tomorrow you will succeed. Continue the journey." Sometimes when I look at the teachings, I feel so that nobody can create something new. Everything is there. Time and today you contemplated, reflected, practiced. The practice was only for an hour and you continued the practice. You remain in that time. You feel the state of the timelessness. The time helps. Time is a helper. Time is a barrier. But simply if I speak about it, I explained it. And if I simply say these are the 4 steps, by which, so I have an intense desire. So that intense desire mixes with the desire of the first 3 stages of the pleasure. The teacher has to be there. Teacher has to warn you, to caution you. I already explained how the Master guided me on the path. And how I remember, I don't know. 26 years with him, how do I remember all these events? It comes in a flash. It relates. So it means what? This mind and the intellect is naturally focused on the journey. So I need not to do anything. It's out of the flow. When I teach someone else, new example comes related to my life, my sadhana, my practices. So that kind of intense aspiration we need. Now, what we need to do, should I stop working for my business? Should I stop earning money? People. So when they ask the question, it simply means this mind is now reacting, resisting. Come on, you have to continue the same habitual and default way. It is reacting. That's why you are asking this question. So with that reference, what I say, don't change anything outside. Whatever you do, continue to do it. Do the practice as suggested. Go to the office so that you have a greater focus. Get absorbed into the work. So in that process, you move to the second stage of the happiness. So you are breaking the knots of the ignorance. So even in your profession, even in your family life. Yeah, you see that? Even for value happiness. See that? So do not change anything outside. Then what it means? It also means that you keep that awareness 24/7, whether you are driving, working, living. Gradually you may remember after a few hours, but the time comes now 24/7. So someone asks you, what do you do? Outside you say, I have a business, I'm running a business, but inside the mind enjoys and smiles and says, I'm a seeker. Natural. Can anyone see it? No. This is what I mean by don't change anything outside. So what happens? There is a qualitative change takes place outside because your inside is becoming pure. Naturally it is happening. Past week you became angry over an employee, but now because of the intense aspiration, I have to play my role, come and sit. You even say as a boss, no, I'm sorry, I hurt your feeling. And then you are clear, let us commit to this work. And that guy works very well because the mind is pure. Because of his activity, you get $10,000 instead of 5. So you call him and you pay the incentive. So you instantly move from the second stage of the pleasure to the third stage. Because you saw the need. Some people only need appreciation. They don't need money. So gradually you will realize, he needs an appreciation. So you know. That happens naturally. You need not to work on it. And the second factor is this Shastra. Shastra means knowledge. There are two means. Shastra also means weapon. It is known as Shastra. So the Shastra means weapon. So you have a weapon against ignorance. You have a weapon against the impure mind. So what is that? Knowledge of the Eastern wisdom, principles. We should understand intellectually for clarity and conviction, removing the doubt, and then we should apply. So who has to personalize this teaching for you? Teacher. So who is the teacher? The teacher should be well versed in the journey. He has already undergone that journey. He knows it at every point. What needs to be done, what need not to be done. You can do that. And the time. Now what happens? Your mind is so much possessed by the idea, by the intense desire for the freedom, that the time passes by and you continue the journey. You already have a glimpse of that calmness, that peace is within you. Why? Because I'm going for ultimate peace and happiness. You have a lot of challenges in the life. But still, you feel the time is passing by, Last year passed more or less peacefully. Because of the past impression, I reacted, I resisted, I fell back, and then I return again. Oh, no worries, I have to continue the journey. So time also plays a crucial role. Another part that I have already talked and discussed, what is that? I talked about that knowledge in time, awakening in time. So first thing, the knowledge in space and time. So you say, come to Ukraine, so I get a ticket, so it takes a distance to travel. And then I reach in a particular time, the space and time. Space and time. And the second is the journey in time. I have made my personal effort, and now knowledge in time. What should I do? I should do nothing. Today I made my personal effort, and now I am waiting in time. How? I gave one example. The seed does not become a tree overnight. You have made your personal effort. You have fertilized, you have put the fertilizer, you have watered, you have plowed the field, you have sown the seed. Now wait. Not waiting in impatience. So if there is a wait in impatience, you go back to the same impurity of the mind. People say, I have done 2 years of practice with you and still I am frustrated. Not because of me, because of yourself. You are hiding something inside. What should I do? Why you are hiding? Why you are hiding? Because you have a doubt. Where is the doubt? So mind says, okay, continue to have first 3 stages of pleasure on one hand and continue the journey. Come on. Are you cheating yourself? So you are cheating yourself, I am not. As a teacher, I am not. None of these teachers who has written these principles are cheating you. You are cheating yourself. Check yourself. Check yourself. So if you are cheating yourself and you say, still I want to have a peace, not possible. It is not possible. For seeking the first 3 stages of the happiness, even if you desire and project a very small thing, the mind and the intellect creates a chain reaction. And you have trillions of impressions. And it creates a veil of this journey. You live in ignorance. You opened a very good topic. You see that? It creates a very little veil of which we are not aware. So what happens? I am doing meditation. Master told me, get rid of the first 3 stages of pleasure. And the intellect says, no, I have only little. I go for this pleasure only once a week. Previously I was going 7 days a week. So I see my master agrees that I have not to change anything outside, I have to change everything inside. You are already in a trap of mind. How dare your mind can ever think of that when you are meditating, when you are contemplating and reflecting? Then the mind says, then what the mind says, okay, if it is not so, instantly there comes a reaction. The mind, like a pendulum, from one extreme it goes to the other extreme. It gives you a tremendous resistance. You said, what is in it? Let me continue my outer journey. You don't realize it's a part of the frustration and the failure. And you forget. That forgetfulness is also ignorance. That forgetfulness is also ignorance. So then what happens? Then mind, third aspect, according to Patanjali, 3 stages of the pleasure. When the mind is facing outside, and 3 subjective states of the mind keeps your mind outside. Now see, so you can understand from that point of view, 3 stages of pleasure. 3 stages of pleasure. First thing, moves the mind like a pendulum. First thing. And the second thing, it moves the mind facing outside. So when it is facing outside, you get the pleasure. Moves the mind in the 3 subjective states. What are the 3 subjective states? Wandering mind. So you have not understood the principle, and now your question is, my mind is not focused, how to focus it? So from the point of view of a teacher, it is the crazy question. But again, the teacher is totally, you can say it is the kindness of a teacher, or the teacher changes the track, it explains with your reference why the mind is wandering. And we go on asking the wrong questions. And the teacher still wants to bring you back on the track, and the student is constantly asking, don't you feel my mom died and I was in a grief and that is why I stopped meditation. Well, you should do meditation to get out of the grief. You're asking the wrong question. No, I gave an extreme example. So the journey has to continue 24/7. The mind should not be influenced by anything outside. Whether anyone dies, or you earn more money, or you lose money, or you have conflict outside, leave the conflict outside, the journey has to continue all the time. Mind is wandering. It is because what it is saying, let me settle this problem first in the world outside and then I will practice. That time will never, never, never come. Why? The world itself is a problem. We are part of the world, we are living in the world. So every day you have new challenges. Nobody has ever been able to solve all the problems in the world, so no sadhana, no practice. We live in stress and we die in stress. And sometimes people, when they become 60s and 70s, they say, still, I have to take care of my grandchildren. Let me take care, let they get married and then I will practice. You cannot do anything, come on. But again, as a teacher, I have to guide differently. I have to tell them in a different way, if they are ready to listen. But some people are not ready to listen, so it's better to keep quiet. Keep quiet does not mean that the teacher has no answer. Teacher knows it. So teacher knows that this guy is a hard nut to crack because that guy lives in deep ignorance. So there is no way, no use talking to those people. Continue enjoying, suffering. So ultimately, even through these 3 stages of happiness or pleasure, happiness, if you are constantly contemplating and reflecting, you will realize You will recognize and realize. What you will recognize and realize? That is, it is a knowledge practice to recognize and realize what? You wake up in the morning, you are aware what thoughts are coming, what feelings are coming. So you'll be surprised. By default, even if you are intelligent, thought, feeling, and the sensation are related to 3 stages of pleasure. 3 stages of pleasure by default. You will be surprised that, no, my mind is clear, I have understood the principle. So you wake up in the morning, mind says, today you have an urgent meeting and you may get $1 million of this contract. Gone. Now see that? So now what I said, don't change anything outside. Tell the mind, thank you very much, you reminded me I have to attend a meeting at 10. What is the time now? 7. So 7 to 9 I should be absorbed into the practice. But the mind does not get absorbed into the practice. It starts playing fancies, it creates an imagination, it starts thinking about that guy, who will give me the contract. If he says this, I will say this. If he says this, I will say this. But I will grab the contract. I will be very soft. Why? Because it is coming. So especially you see that all the males are extremely soft, gentle, and at the higher level of kindness when they seek pleasure of sex. I will buy you everything, honey, don't worry. First let me have this pleasure. Come on. I know that. Now I know. Look at it. No, this is how the mind plays the tricks. And we don't realize. So if the guy is full of ignorance, oh, do you mean that I should be very harsh to my wife? I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this. So mind goes to other extreme. So we don't recognize this mind going to the extremes and moving like a pendulum and bringing the failure and the frustration, and this is happening. Again I'm repeating. This has been happening days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, years after years, and expecting a different result. How it will happen? It will never happen. So we have to recognize and realize every day, every moment. What will happen? You reacted, now you recognize and realize. You have created a positive impression. This reaction is due to the mind in ignorance, so let me drop it. Even if the other person is angry, if the other person is reacting, let me push it. So there are many options that comes to your mind so that you can keep the mind uninfluenced by any event outside. Now see another part. That's a wonderful question you asked me. Reaction, response, frustration, failure are natural when the mind is facing to the world. Mind is facing to the world. It is natural. And when the mind is facing inside, peace and happiness, no duality. Why? Now question comes why. Why reaction? Sometime reaction, sometime response. Hell with you, you have come here for a contract and you don't listen to me. Now we realize that now money is not coming, so we take another stand in our life. So that's why we say, okay, With I'll go to other men or women for my relationship. There was an Indian woman I found in New Jersey, and she called me for a couple of lessons. And then her story. So I was laughing inside, but yes, I have to keep my compose and calm outside. She told me, I have recorded the conversation. I have seen my husband is going with other women. And fortunately, the couple, both husband and wife, are extremely intelligent and already earning about $1 million together. So after a few sessions, she told me that my intellect said, if he is going to the other women, why shouldn't I go to other men? So she went to a couple of men. She explained me, I enjoyed, and then she asked me, did I do the right thing? I said, I don't know. The mind moved to the extreme. Then I explained, do you see the mind is moving to the extreme? The first extreme movement that, come on, I'm a wife, I'm committed to you, but you cheated me. So hence I should move to the other extreme of the mind. Now I'm also cheating you. You cheated me, so I will also cheat you. Come on. And even after 6 months of teaching, that idea remained very firm in her mind. And in every session she always asked me, did I do the right thing? I said, you did the right thing for your physical pleasure. And if you're asking a question, you have a doubt in your mind. That is how I wanted to help her evolve. So when you seek a confirmation from anybody else outside, you have a doubt in your mind and intellect. Even though you have performed that and you are doing it even now. Then she looked at me. She is extremely intelligent. That's why she is getting a lot of money in her profession, no doubt. I could see that. Held to your intellect, if you cannot see the clarity in your personal life, what kind of intelligence you have? You may be earning $1 million. What it means? When you are full of doubt in your life, that means nothing. That means nothing. That is the waste is. So I booked her for 10 sessions. We did 9 sessions. So after 3 months, she sent an email. We have yet to do 1 session. So even though here I make an agreement that if you do not complete the 10 sessions within a period of 3 months, you can skip 1 or 2 sessions, then the money is not refundable. Then I'm not liable to do any other session. It is very clear. Because she is extremely intelligent in her profession, she reads every document very carefully in her profession. But here she says, okay, this guy, I'm paying this. So I laughed and I said, yes, I'm ready. So I gave her a lesson and then I told, please read the document carefully that you signed. So I said, it's a time of an hour. What's the problem? Who knows? The last hour she may have something, she may awaken to the truth. So I have no issues. Anyhow, after a week she sent me an email, I'm sorry. I said, okay, no worries, no problem. So what we were explaining, understand this is very important, the 4 stages of pleasure. 4 stages of the pleasure Because the first three stages of the pleasure has dominated and dictating the mind for millions of years. From my previous birth, because of the process of evolution, we evolved from the animal kingdom. Because since our birth, the mother fed us the milk, and my unconscious mind created an impression, oh, this breastfeeding gives me pleasure and happiness. The mind is facing to the world outside. I wet the bed. Someone changed it. Mind created another impression. Oh, this gives me happiness. Something happened outside. As I grew older, I started playing with the toy. Here is a plane. I considered that toy plane is a real plane. The false self. It is important for evolution. But I did not give the real teaching. Parents did not give us the real teaching. And then I started reading the story books. I enjoyed the fancies and imagination. As I grew older, due to the animal instinct, some changes happens in my mind, in my body. That sensation of pleasure and the sex. So that I felt that happiness is outside. Now look at all those examples, breastfeeding, changing the wet bed, toys in the storybooks, and the sensual pleasure and the wealth, all are outside. All are outside. Oh my goodness, the mind, how this mind which is so much obsessed with an understanding and experience that the pleasure is immediate. Come on, honey, will you agree? Pleasure is here. And you are talking of exploring the happiness is your essential nature. I have to follow the 12 steps. I have to follow the 9 steps. So mind inside says, hell with you 12 steps. I can do in 1 step. That is ignorance. That is impurity. It is nothing more than that. So now the intellect takes over the mind. Hold on, intellect says, mind, where are you going? Have you done this days after days, weeks after weeks? Did you get permanent happiness? The mind stops. And that stopping of the mind, understanding the principles, then you recognize and realize the 4th stage of the happiness will give me the permanent state of the happiness. Very clear all the time. Going for a lunch, yes. So sometime I look for, the mind through the past impression says, this food is really good. I always liked it. And the intellect takes over. The knowledge and the mind takes over. Come on, you have come here to feed your belly. Finished. Check this. So sometimes you see in a party, people fill everything in a plate. They eat half and they throw it. So you can make it out. You can look into their eyes. Meeting is going on and food is there, the eyes are there. So eyes, these 5 sense organs are attracted because of they find the desire to be fulfilled through the objects outside. Whether it's a food, whether it's a physical, sensual beauty, whether it's a sound, whether it's a smell, everything. And the mind is trapped. Mind is trapped. So all participate, my 5 sense organs, the mind in ignorance, the memory, and the memory and the mind dictates my intellect, so the ego is created. What is that ego personality? The false self. Now I live with the false self. And I know how to rationalize that false self and how to reject the real journey of my life.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sending you this